In today's video, we will be doing the full review of the brand new Galaxy S10. Yes, I do have the Galaxy S10 at hand, and I've had it for about a couple months now, so now would be a perfect time for me to go ahead and do a full review. Now, number one, as usual, I will be going over the specs and the pricing. I'll go over the design and build quality. I'll also go over the software experience, the camera performance, the battery performance, the display quality, the audio performance, and I'll also go over some of the unique features and go over the software and security updates. So let's go ahead and start off real quick. Number one, the specs. Now this phone starts off at $899, but you could definitely get some sweet deals. As for me, I traded in my Galaxy S9, got a $500 credit, so that actually bumped down the price about $400, so that's pretty good. So now for the processor, you are rocking the latest Snapdragon 855 processor, and as for the RAM, you do get a bump in RAM, so you're actually rocking 8 gigabytes of RAM. As for the storage, you either have a 128 gigabyte or 512 gigabyte variant. As for me, I opted out for the 128 gigabytes, and with the micro SD card, you could get up to 512 gigabytes of extra storage. Now you are rocking a 3400 milliamp hour battery. This has Bluetooth 5.0. And as for the cameras, as for the rear cameras, well, we do have something new. We do have the wide angle lens, we do have the ultra wide angle lens, and we do have the telephoto lens. Now for the wide angle lens, it's about 12 megapixels, and it can actually change its aperture from f1.5 to 2.4. Now with f1.5, you can actually gather more light, so it's better for low light situations, and this can actually record at 4K at 60 frames per second
to send the thunder home. Lillard, long range three, and it's good!
And it does have optic image stabilization, and it also has dual pixel autofocus, which can be found in the Canon DSLR cameras. Now for the telephoto lens, it is also a 12 megapixel shooter with the f2.2 aperture, and it does give you 2 times zoom, and also has optic image stabilization. And as for the ultra wide lens, it's a 16 megapixel shooter with f2.2, and with the f2.2, I did notice you do have a reduced quality when it comes to low light situations. Now for the selfie camera, this is definitely an upgrade over the S9. You do get a 10 megapixel shooter with an f1.9 aperture, and it also has that cool dual pixel autofocus system found on the rear cameras.
If you smell what the rock is cooking.
And I do have to say that the autofocus on this phone has been amazing, way better than the one on the Galaxy S9, and it also records at 4K at 30 frames per second, which is pretty damn impressive. Now for the display, you're rocking a 1440 by 3040 resolution with a PPI of 550, and I do have to add that this phone is actually IP68 certified, so it does have some water and dust resistance. Now let's go ahead and talk about the build quality and the design. I'll give this a 9.5 out of 10. And why is that such a high score? Well, let's go ahead and talk about it. Now the curved edges, you guys know how I feel about curved edges. I feel like they're actually kind of fragile, but with the one on this device, it's actually more durable and it's actually more subtle. Now for the edges, is not as prominent as the one on the Galaxy S9, which I do appreciate. Now you still have your headphone jack, and you do have a circular selfie cutout. So I do like it, and I actually got used to it. So when I'm watching videos and whatnot, it really doesn't get into the way. I barely notice it when it comes to watching YouTube videos. And as for the color of the phone and the design of the back, it does have a beautiful prism color. Now I did get the one in blue, and with the glass back, when you're shining it through the light, it does have this awesome rainbow effect, which I gotta say is gorgeous. And they do give you a variety of colors. Now the Bixby button actually makes its appearance again, but this time, good news, it's actually remappable, so you can actually change it to anything you want. Now the fingerprint reader is actually ultrasonic, but in my experience is not compatible with most tempered glass screen protectors, which in my case is less protection. And in my experience, the plastic screen protectors actually work fine, but for the glass screen protectors, it's been a nightmare. For example, it's been inaccurate and slow, but for some people, they've had great results when it comes to the Whitestone Dome tempered glass screen protector, which is actually the only tempered glass screen protector that works on the Galaxy S10. Now for the software, you will be getting the Samsung One UI, which was actually updated on my Galaxy S9, and based on my experience, well, you're going to get easy one-handed use. It is actually faster. It was actually the fastest UI Samsung has put out to date, and there is really totally a whole lot less lag. Now for someone who has experience with TouchWiz, this is a breath of fresh air. This is totally a new experience, so you should definitely check it out if you have nightmares from TouchWiz. So kudos to Samsung on this update. Now you will get dark mode as well, and you'll also find tons of features like Samsung Pay, Dolby Atmos, digital well-being, physical health features, face unlock, Bixby, and I do have to say face unlock is pretty fast and it even works pretty good in low light situations. And for Bixby Home, I did notice that there is less lag, so once you're swiping into the Bixby Home menu, unlike the Galaxy S9 with the older Samsung UI, there used to be some lag and it would take some time loading up, but not for this one. For this one, it loads up pretty quick and just how I like it. Now for the camera, let's go back to the camera. Two things I want to talk about: the versatility and the photo quality. Now for the versatility, you have the wide angle telephoto lens and the ultra wide lens. So if you want to take up a close shot, you don't have to run up closer. You can just stand there, take the telephoto lens out, or if you're just too close to a subject and you can't move back, you got that ultra wide lens at your disposal. Now you do have features as well as the super slow-mo, which works pretty good in daylight. You do have the AR emoji, which kind of sucks, and I do have to mention that there is no video in pro mode. So if you're into making a lot of videos and using pro mode, that feature is no longer available like it was on the Galaxy S9. Hopefully it comes back. Now for the photo quality, I will say there are some minor improvements, but it is still great. It's pretty much one of the top phones when it comes to photography. Now for the video quality, there has been some improvements. Now you do have the wide angle lens, the telephoto lens, and the ultra lens for video recording. But I did notice, like I mentioned, the ultra wide lens, it does perform pretty bad when it comes to low light situations and in photos as well. As for the wide angle lens, it's as good as a Galaxy S9 and the S9 Plus if you enjoyed that. And for the telephoto, sadly, there is no 4K options at 60 frames per second when using the telephoto lens. Now overall, the entire camera system is pretty much excellent. I would give it a solid 9 out of 10. Now for the selfie camera, let's go back to that. It has a 4K video at 30 frames per second, which I am in love with. And it does have some strong beauty effects, which you can't remove. But you can also install Gcam and use Google's portrait mode, which has a lot less beauty effects if you're into that. And with the selfie camera, you do have live focus, which is pretty cool. And I'll show you guys some examples. Now for the battery performance, I have to say it's pretty impressive. Now normally I could probably get about 7 to 8 hours of screen on time. That's with internet browsing, with social media, watching YouTube videos. But when I'm using it heavy, like with the video recording, or if I do have the display at full brightness or near full brightness, I could probably get about 5 or 6 hours. I've never had a day where it could barely get to 4 hours. So the least amount of time has been 5 hours, and the most amount of time has been about over 8 hours. So far the battery performance is pretty damn impressive. Now for the display quality, you are getting a Quad HD display, which is like as you would expect with Samsung. It's gorgeous and pretty much the best display on the market. It has amazing colors and great contrast, and it's also bright as hell. So it's actually going to give you some great performance when it comes in direct sunlight. And as for the curves, there's this one thing I don't really like. You do have your little distortion. So when you're watching YouTube videos in Quad HD, you will notice that distortion on the sides. But I do have to say I am enjoying the experience when it comes to watching my videos on YouTube in Quad HD. And I do have to say that, I would prefer using the S10 Plus when it comes to watching videos, since this display is actually a lot bigger. Now for the audio, you do have speakers, one at the earpiece and one that's actually bottom firing. And overall, I have to say it's pretty much like an 8 out of 10. It's good, but it's nothing spectacular. Now for the voice calls. So when it comes to the speakers, it's pretty much loud and clear, even when you're using the speakerphone. And when it comes to the mic, I've had no issues whatsoever. People can hear me loud and clear on the other end. So I do get great signal on Cricket, except when I'm in the hood. So when I'm driving out in the hood, I do have some low bars. I have that same issues with every other carrier. It is what it is. Now for the unique features, you do have reverse wireless charging, so you can actually charge up another phone that actually charges with wireless charging. And in my opinion, it's actually great for emergencies. Now some people say it's a gimmick, but I've had some situations where, you know, maybe I've had, you know, been hanging out with some friends and their phone has been dying, where you could just take someone's iPhone and charge it up with your Samsung Galaxy S10. So it actually works with iPhones and other Androids, everything that supports wireless charging. Now for the ultrasonic fingerprint reader, it works when the screen is off, which is pretty cool. You don't have to press the power button. All you gotta do is take your thumb, place it over the screen, and it turns on pretty well. And another cool feature which I discovered is that you can actually share large files with link sharing. Now with Samsung, you do have a link sharing feature. Basically, you just upload your file and you can just send a link to anyone and share that file with anyone, which is pretty cool. And I do have to say, I am looking forward to the Adobe Premiere Rush program, which is exclusive to Galaxy S10 owners. It will be coming soon and my hopes are pretty much high. So with Samsung DeX, now you can actually use this program and edit your videos on a monitor, which is pretty awesome. And if you're bad at taking photos, the camera also has shot suggestion and a scene optimizer. Now with shot suggestion, it actually helps you line up the photo and the subject so you can take a great photo. And for the scene optimizer, it will actually use AI to actually detect the scene and choose the best settings. And finally, with something that's very important to me as well, the software and security updates. Samsung, believe it or not, they are promising monthly updates, monthly security updates. But when it comes to the software updates, that has yet to be seen. But so far, Samsung has kept their word. I actually got the April security patch a couple weeks ago, so everything is working pretty damn good, and I've been very impressed so far. So based on my opinion, I think Samsung finally woke up. They had no choice. The competition from companies like Huawei, OnePlus, it's been heating up, and they actually had to get their shit together. And now some people say that the Galaxy S10 isn't much of an upgrade of the Galaxy S9, but with all these extra features and whatnot, I honestly feel like it's a great upgrade. And if you're lucky enough to find a great deal like I did, I'd say go for it. So this is Alteredtech with the full review of the Galaxy S10. I give it a 9 out of 10. It's just an inch away from perfection, so we'll have to see in the far future what Samsung actually does. We'll have to wait and see how Samsung actually takes care of these software updates. But so far, this is Alteredtech with the Galaxy S10 full review. Hope you guys enjoy the video, and if you have yet to subscribe, please subscribe for more videos. I'd really appreciate it. This is Alteredtech. Hope you guys have a great and wonderful day. Peace.